Discipline is the root, motivation is the fruit. The tree does not begin with the fruit. It begins deep below the surface, where roots stretch into the unseen soil. Without roots, the tree may grow fast but fall with the first storm. In the same way, a person who relies on temporary motivation will move quickly in the beginning but collapse when struggle arrives. Discipline creates stability. It is what anchors the practice when emotions fluctuate and desires fade. The disciplined person does not wait to feel ready. They act because they have chosen the path, not because the path feels easy today. Just as the farmer rises early regardless of weather, the one who trains with discipline shows up without waiting for a perfect condition. Motivation is enjoyable, but it is not reliable. It comes and goes like the wind, stirred by moments of excitement or inspiration. But the one who is disciplined does not lean on these feelings. They walk forward even when the air is still, even when there is no applause, no external push. Their steps are not powered by mood, but by mastery of intention. A seed does not rush the process of becoming a tree. First, it must remain underground, unseen, growing silently. This is the stage where discipline takes form. It is the early repetition, the unnoticed effort, the quiet commitment to return again and again. No fruit has ever appeared before this stage has been honored. Discipline is not rigid control. It is inner alignment. When thought, action, and purpose are in harmony, a certain energy awakens within. This energy becomes movement without resistance. You no longer ask yourself whether you should do it. You simply do, because your training has dissolved the doubt that used to delay you. When you build your life on discipline, you gain trust in yourself. Not because of the big outcomes, but because of the small daily victories. You showed up, you remained, you completed what you started. This creates a deep internal strength that doesn't rely on anyone noticing or praising. It is strength that speaks only through presence. Eventually, motivation begins to grow, but it is no longer the starting fuel. It becomes the reflection of your consistency. It grows like fruit on a healthy tree, nourished by what lies below. The deeper your roots in discipline, the richer your harvest of motivation, not as a spark to begin, but as a reward of staying faithful to the path. This is why we don't chase motivation. We build the foundation, the structure, the practice, and through this structure, something more stable than excitement appears, something that does not fade in discomfort or distraction, something that remains when nothing else does. The mind must obey before it can lead. In the Shaolin tradition, mastery begins not with control over others or the world outside, but with control over the restless waves within. A mind that has never submitted itself to order cannot be trusted to guide. Just like a wild horse must be tamed before it can carry a rider, the mind must be disciplined before it becomes a reliable compass. Obedience in this sense is not weakness, it is structure. To obey means to follow something higher than impulse, a principle, a purpose, a path. When the mind is ruled by preference, it chases comfort and avoids effort. But when it learns to follow a deeper command, it gains the strength to walk through resistance and remain unmoved by temptation. We often believe leadership comes from brilliance or vision, but in the inner path, leadership comes from silence, from stillness, from the ability to listen. A mind that talks too much cannot hear. A mind that wants too much cannot see. Only when it obeys discipline does it quiet down enough to receive direction. To train the mind to obey is to place it into routine, into repetition, into simplicity. You sit, you breathe, you move without question, without negotiation. Through these rituals, the mind begins to understand that it is not the master. It is the servant of your purpose. And through this humility, clarity arises. The greatest illusion is the belief that freedom means doing whatever the mind wants. True freedom comes when the mind no longer pulls you in 100 directions. When it obeys, you no longer wrestle with it. You simply act. You move forward. You preserve energy that was once wasted in debate with yourself. Obedience trains the mind to endure. It teaches patience, silence, and consistency. When the mind learns to stay where you place it, it becomes a tool rather than a tyrant. It no longer jumps from thought to thought, desire to desire. It remains with the breath, with the form, with the present task. Then something changes. Slowly, the mind becomes reliable. It begins to lead not with chaos, but with clarity. It chooses wisely, not impulsively. It sees through illusion. It no longer reacts to everything it feels. This is how obedience becomes strength, not through submission to fear, but through service to inner order. A mind that has learned to obey can finally be trusted to lead others, because it first learned how to lead itself through obedience to truth, to discipline, to silence. Purpose is silent but powerful. It does not announce itself loudly, nor does it demand recognition. It moves in the background, steady and unwavering, like the current beneath still water. While others look for noise to feel progress, purpose teaches you to find strength in quiet direction. It is not decoration for the outside. It is the fire that burns within without showing smoke. In the monastery, one is not praised for passion but for constancy. Purpose is not a mood. It is a direction that remains even when feelings change. You do not need to shout when you are certain. When your actions align with your purpose, every step becomes deliberate, every breath becomes aligned, every effort becomes focused. The reason many feel lost is not because they lack energy, but because they lack direction. They move fast but in circles. They are motivated but without purpose. They exhaust themselves in shallow tasks. Purpose is what gives meaning to effort. It does not give you more to do. It gives your doing more weight. Purpose removes the need for constant motivation. When you know why you do what you do, discipline becomes easier, sacrifice becomes clearer, discomfort becomes part of the path, not a reason to stop. You no longer ask, "Is this worth it?" because the answer has already been decided by your inner compass. It is easy to become distracted when there is no purpose holding you. The mind wanders, the body hesitates, decisions become clouded. But when your life is built around purpose, you waste less energy in indecision. You are not pulled by opinion, not shaken by delay, not weakened by external approval or rejection. You do not need to prove your purpose to others. It is not loud because it is not for display. Just like a mountain does not need to speak to show its presence, purpose makes itself known through consistency. People may not see it, but they will feel its presence in the way you move, the way you live, the way you return to the path again and again. The power of purpose lies in its silence. It does not react to every noise. It listens, it watches, it waits. It does not rush, but it also does not stop. It moves in its own rhythm, untouched by chaos, unshaken by time. This is why it becomes unbreakable, because it does not depend on outer permission to exist. Those who walk with purpose do not need to be loud. Their lives speak for them, not through words, but through presence, not through performance, but through alignment with something deeper than emotion, louder than thought, and more stable than motivation. Inspiration fades, training endures. Inspiration is like a gust of wind. It lifts you for a moment, fills you with excitement, and then disappears without warning. But training is the ground beneath your feet. It is what remains when the wind is gone. It is what holds you up when nothing else does. Many begin their journey with inspiration, a powerful speech, a beautiful idea, a sudden desire to improve, but those sparks, while useful, do not last long. When the body becomes tired, when the mind begins to resist, inspiration alone cannot carry you. Only training, deliberate, repetitive, silent, can move you beyond the initial impulse. Training is not exciting. It is not meant to be. It is the repetition of form, the stillness of breath, the discipline of return. Day after day, hour after hour, you meet yourself in the same posture, the same movement, the same silence. This is not to entertain the mind, but to sharpen it, not to impress others, but to master yourself. Inspiration can deceive. It can make you feel you have already arrived, just because you feel elevated. But feeling is not progress. Progress is built in the repetition of simple acts done with full attention. The warrior is not made during the speech. He is made in the hours when no one is watching, when the room is cold and the body resists. Training brings humility. It shows you where you are weak, where you avoid discomfort, where your thoughts drift. While inspiration tells you how great you can be, training shows you the truth of where you stand. That truth, though difficult, is the beginning of real growth, because once you see clearly, you can begin to change deliberately. There is no need to chase inspiration when training becomes your rhythm. You do not ask whether you feel ready. You begin. You do not seek permission from the mood. You act from intention. Over time, this removes the drama from your practice. You stop negotiating. You start moving. Even when progress is slow, training is working. Like water shaping stone, it does not force change overnight, but it carves through resistance with patience. Each repetition deepens the path. Each return strengthens the root. This is the quiet power of endurance, the strength that does not need excitement, only commitment. In the end, what you become is not a result of what inspired you, but what you trained through. The moments you didn't feel like it, but still showed up. The times when no one was looking, but you stayed. This is the path where transformation is not sudden, but certain stillness creates clarity. Clarity fuels direction. In the chaos of movement, in the noise of endless thoughts, it becomes difficult to see anything with precision. Just as muddy water cannot reflect the sky, a restless mind cannot reflect truth. But when the water settles, when the mind becomes still, what was once hidden becomes visible. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it is the absence of distraction. It is not about doing nothing, but about doing one thing fully. In stillness, you begin to notice the layers of your own thinking. The noise quiets, and what remains is what matters. This is where clarity begins to emerge, not from effort, but from silence. Many people try to find direction while running. They search for answers while constantly moving, chasing, comparing. But clarity is not found in motion. It is found in presence. When you sit without reaching, when you observe without reacting, your perception begins to sharpen. You begin to distinguish between what is urgent and what is essential. Clarity is not made through addition, but through subtraction. Remove the unnecessary, the noise, the habits of distraction. In this space, what is truly needed reveals itself. Direction does not need to be invented. It is already there, waiting beneath the clutter. Stillness is the process of uncovering it, not forcing it. Without clarity, even great effort is misused. Energy is wasted on tasks that do not align. You can work hard and go nowhere if you do not know where you're going. Stillness corrects this. It aligns your energy with your intention. It gives your steps a line to follow, a purpose to serve. In Shaolin training, stillness is not separate from action. It prepares action. Meditation is not an escape from the world. It is preparation for it. When the mind is calm, the body moves with precision. When the mind is scattered, the body follows with disorder. This is why we train the mind first, not to freeze, but to see. Clarity born from stillness is different from motivation born from emotion. Motivation fades with moods, but clarity remains stable. It becomes a compass rather than a spark, and with a compass, even slow steps carry you forward. Even small efforts become effective because they are directed toward the right place. Direction is not given from outside, it arises from inner clarity. It is not something you must force upon yourself, but something you allow to appear when the noise quiets. Stillness is not the goal, but the condition that makes direction possible. The one who masters himself needs no external push. His movement is not reactive, but intentional. He does not wait for someone to motivate him, nor does he require permission to begin. What drives him comes from within, from a place that has been refined through discipline, shaped by practice, and strengthened through silence. Self-mastery is not about control in the outer world, but control in the inner realm. The mind, the emotions, the impulses, they are observed, understood, and disciplined. This internal alignment creates a source of energy that does not depend on circumstances. Whether praised or criticized, encouraged or ignored, the one who has mastered himself continues on the chosen path. External motivation is useful at the beginning. A teacher, a guide, a moment of inspiration, these can help initiate movement. But if a person remains dependent on outside forces to act, their progress will always be unstable. True mastery appears when the source of action becomes internalized, when the spark is no longer borrowed but built. To master oneself is to become consistent without reward. It means rising in the morning without needing to feel inspired. It means training even when progress feels invisible. It means following through on commitment without needing to be reminded. This stability is not cold. It is grounded, it is peaceful, it is unshakable. The one who has not yet mastered himself is easily moved by mood. A small discomfort leads to retreat, a minor setback leads to delay, but the one who governs himself does not obey every feeling. He acknowledges emotion, but he does not become it. He acts from choice, not from reaction. Self-mastery is the ability to stay connected to the reason why, even when the how becomes difficult. When the storm comes, it is the rooted tree that survives, not because it resists the wind, but because its foundation holds. The same is true for the one who has built himself from the inside out. This path does not remove struggle. It removes dependency. The struggle remains, but it no longer needs to be eased by outside encouragement. There is a fire that has been lit inside, and that fire is maintained through discipline, intention, and practice. It does not need to be restarted. It is always burning. When a person no longer waits to be pushed, they become free. Free from the need to be noticed, free from the fear of being forgotten, free from the fluctuations of praise and blame. They become their own force, their own rhythm, their own direction.